Around the world, strange phenomena are appearing. Sudden lights in the sky, unexplained geological shifts, and anomalies scientists struggle to classify. Data has been collected, studies have been launched, yet no definitive answers exist. Are we witnessing rare natural events, or something far more mysterious? Join us as we explore the unexplained phenomena science still can't answer. Let's go.
Number 13. Marfa lights. Near Marfa, Texas, mysterious lights appear on the horizon almost nightly, flickering and moving in ways that seem to defy physics. Witnesses describe orbs that split apart, merge together, dart rapidly across the landscape, then vanish. The lights can be white, red, orange, or blue, and sometimes appear to dance or chase each other. Reports of the Marfa lights date back to 1883, when a rancher named Robert Ellison first documented seeing them. Over 140 years later, despite thousands of sightings and multiple scientific investigations, nobody can definitively explain what causes them. The lights appear most frequently about 9 miles east of Marfa on Mitchell Flat, always after dark. Some researchers initially dismissed them as car headlights from the nearby highway reflecting off atmospheric conditions, but the lights were seen for decades before automobiles existed in the region. Others suggested they might be swamp gas, except Marfa sits in high desert terrain with no swamps within hundreds of miles. A thorough 2004 investigation by the Society of Physics students from the University of Texas attempted to correlate light appearances with vehicle traffic, but found numerous instances where lights appeared in locations and patterns that couldn't possibly be explained by cars. The team also noted that the lights sometimes moved perpendicular to the road and occasionally appeared to travel uphill, behaviors inconsistent with reflected headlights. Some physicists have proposed that the lights might be caused by piezoelectric charges generated by tectonic stress in the rock formations beneath the desert. This phenomenon, which creates luminous plasma when crystalline rocks are compressed, has been documented in earthquake zones. However, Marfa sits on relatively stable geology with no significant seismic activity. Temperature inversions in the desert air could theoretically create mirages that make distant lights appear closer and behave strangely, but this doesn't account for reports of lights appearing mere feet from observers. The town of Marfa has embraced its mysterious attraction, with a designated viewing area drawing thousands of tourists annually. But for every person who visits hoping to see something unexplainable, there's a frustrated scientist who has studied the lights extensively and must conclude that Earth still keeps some secrets despite our sophisticated measurement tools.
Number 12. Star jelly. After heavy rainfall or thunderstorms, people occasionally discover translucent, gelatinous blobs scattered across grass and tree branches. This substance, known as star jelly or astral jelly, typically evaporates within hours of being found, leaving almost no trace for scientific analysis. Historical records documenting star jelly appearances date back centuries, with folklore attributing the substance to meteor showers or falling stars. Modern reports describe the jelly as having no distinctive odor and ranging in color from clear to slightly white or pale blue. The material feels slippery and gel-like, similar to the texture of frog spawn, but without any visible organisms inside. The rapid evaporation makes star jelly extraordinarily difficult to study. By the time scientists arrive to collect samples, the substance has often disappeared completely, leaving only a damp spot. The few analyses that have been conducted produce conflicting results. Some samples contain traces of frog or toad oviducts, suggesting the jelly might be amphibian reproductive material regurgitated by predatory birds. Other samples showed cellular structures consistent with slime molds or certain types of fungus. A few samples defied identification entirely, containing organic compounds that didn't match any known biological material in existing databases. The mystery deepens when considering reports of star jelly appearing on rooftops and other elevated surfaces, where amphibian material would be unlikely to accumulate. Some researchers propose the substance could be a previously unidentified atmospheric organism, while others suggest it might be a rare type of precipitation involving organic particles in clouds. Without fresh samples that can be properly analyzed before evaporation occurs, star jelly remains one of nature's most slippery mysteries.
I'm going to ask you a simple question. Are you a naturally curious person? If you're watching, I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. This space is made for people like us. To ensure you're always part of this community and receive all our latest discoveries, you just need to do one thing: subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to stay connected with us. Okay, now that you're part of our Legion of the Curious, let's move on to the next item.
Number 11. Bermuda Triangle, Flight 19. December 5th, 1945, started as a routine training mission from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 5 torpedo bombers carrying 14 men took off at 2:10 p.m. for a standard navigation exercise over the Atlantic. 2 hours into the flight, the radio crackled with a chilling transmission from Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the lead pilot. His compasses had malfunctioned. He couldn't tell west from east. The squadron was hopelessly lost. Ground control listened helplessly as the pilots' voices grew increasingly desperate. They were running out of fuel. Radio signals became weaker and more fragmented. Then, at 7:04 p.m., the transmission stopped completely. A massive rescue operation launched immediately, deploying ships and aircraft across hundreds of square miles. One of the rescue planes, a Martin Mariner flying boat carrying 13 crew members, disappeared just 23 minutes after takeoff. Its last known position was near where Flight 19 vanished. Despite one of the most extensive searches in naval history, spanning 5 days and covering 250,000 square miles of ocean, not a single piece of wreckage was ever recovered from any of the 6 aircraft. No life rafts, no oil slicks, no debris fields. 27 men simply ceased to exist without leaving any physical trace. The Navy's official report attributed the disaster to Taylor's confusion and bad weather, but this explanation fails to account for why experienced pilots couldn't recover from navigation errors, or why absolutely nothing from 6 large aircraft was ever found. The incident became the most famous case associated with the Bermuda Triangle, spawning decades of speculation about magnetic anomalies, methane eruptions, and even more outlandish theories involving time warps and extraterrestrial interference.
Number 10. Namib Desert Fairy Circles. Scattered across hundreds of miles of African grassland, perfectly circular patches of bare earth appear as if someone used a giant compass to draw them. These fairy circles range from 10 to 65 feet in diameter and are surrounded by rings of thriving grass. They can persist for decades, then mysteriously disappear, only to reappear in different locations. Local legends attribute the circles to the footprints of gods or the breath of underground dragons. Scientists, however, have been searching for a rational explanation since the 1970s and still can't agree on what creates these enigmatic formations. One prominent theory suggests termites are responsible. According to this hypothesis, the insects clear vegetation around their underground colonies to create natural rainwater reservoirs. The circular shape supposedly results from the termites eating grass roots in a uniform pattern radiating outward from their nest. But researcher Stefan Getson found fairy circles in regions with no termite activity whatsoever, and pointed out that the patterns are too geometrically precise and consistent to result from insect behavior. An alternative theory proposes that the circles emerge from plants competing for water in an arid environment. Computer models show that in extremely dry conditions, vegetation can self-organize into hexagonal patterns to maximize water efficiency. Plants in the circle centers supposedly die from water stress, while those at the edges thrive on water that accumulates around the barren patches. This theory seemed promising until researchers discovered fairy circles in Australia with completely different environmental conditions, including adequate rainfall and different soil composition. The Australian circles share the same mysterious characteristics as their African counterparts, but exist in an ecosystem where water competition shouldn't produce such patterns. Some circles show evidence of both termite activity and water stress patterns, suggesting multiple factors might be at work. Adding to the mystery, satellite imagery reveals that fairy circles form stunning honeycomb-like patterns visible from space, with thousands of circles maintaining consistent spacing across vast areas.
Number 9. Animal Rain. On December 29, 2021, residents of Texarkana, Texas, woke to find fish scattered across yards, streets, and rooftops. Not puddles with fish in them, actual fish lying on dry pavement, some still alive and gasping. The National Weather Service confirmed that a waterspout had occurred nearby, but this explanation raises more questions than it answers. Animal rain events have been documented throughout recorded history. In 2011, thousands of blackbirds fell from the sky in Beebe, Arkansas on New Year's Day. Ancient chronicles describe frogs, spiders, and even jellyfish raining from above. What makes these events scientifically puzzling isn't that they occur,
Strong atmospheric forces can certainly lift lightweight animals, but rather the specificity of what falls. When fish rain from the sky, they're typically all the same species. When frogs fall, they're often all the same size. This precision contradicts what we'd expect from a tornado or waterspout, which would randomly scoop up everything in its path. A waterspout strong enough to lift fish should also lift water, mud, vegetation, and other debris, yet witnesses consistently report relatively clean specimens of single species falling from clear skies. Another unexplained aspect involves the survival rate. Many animals that fall from the sky are alive when they land, suggesting they weren't carried through violent atmospheric conditions that should have killed them. Some fish found after rain events show no signs of trauma, despite allegedly being caught in powerful winds and dropped from significant heights. In 1876, residents of Kentucky reported chunks of raw meat falling from a clear sky. Samples analyzed years later suggested the meat was either mutton or venison, but no explanation was ever found for how large pieces of animal flesh ended up in the atmosphere over a rural community. Modern meteorological monitoring makes animal rain events easier to document, but no easier to fully explain, particularly cases where the precipitation seems to occur without any corresponding severe weather.
Number 8. Eternal Flame Falls. Behind a waterfall in western New York, a small flame flickers constantly, fueled by natural gas seeping from rocks. This combination of fire and water shouldn't be particularly mysterious. Similar eternal flames exist worldwide where natural gas emerges and ignites. But Eternal Flame Falls in Shale Creek Preserve baffles geologists because the gas shouldn't be there at all. Natural gas typically forms deep underground under specific conditions of extreme heat and pressure, acting on organic material over millions of years. The rock formation behind Eternal Flame Falls is relatively cool and shallow, nowhere near the temperatures required for conventional natural gas formation. When researchers from Indiana University analyzed the gas composition in 2013, they discovered it was mainly methane and ethane, typical of thermogenic gas that forms at depths of thousands of feet and temperatures above 100 degrees Celsius. But the Rhine Street shale bedrock where the gas emerges sits only a few hundred feet below the surface at temperatures around 30 degrees Celsius. This violates everything geologists understand about hydrocarbon formation. One theory proposes that the gas is migrating upward from much deeper, older rock layers through cracks and fissures. But seismic surveys of the area show no obvious pathways for such migration, and the volume of gas escaping would require an enormous deep reservoir that doesn't appear to exist. Alternative hypotheses suggest that unique microorganisms in the shale might be producing methane through biological processes at unusually low temperatures. Laboratory tests have identified certain bacteria capable of generating small amounts of methane in cool environments, but never at the concentration and consistency observed at Eternal Flame Falls. The flame itself occasionally extinguishes when wind or water spray overwhelm it, but the gas continues flowing and hikers can reignite it with a lighter. This reliable, continuous emission of gas from rock that shouldn't be producing it represents a genuine geological mystery that challenges fundamental assumptions about hydrocarbon formation, leaving scientists to wonder what other unconventional processes might be occurring beneath our feet. Let me search for more well-known unexplained phenomena. Now I'll create the continuation with more famous, easily searchable phenomena.
Number 7. Taos hum. In 1993, residents of Taos, New Mexico, began complaining to Congress about a noise that was driving them crazy. Only 2% of the 8,000 people living in this small town could hear it, but for those who did, the experience was unbearable. Some described it as a diesel truck idling in the distance. Others compared it to a constant electrical buzzing that never stopped. The worst part? It got louder at night, inside their homes, exactly when they needed silence to sleep. Scientists from Los Alamos National Laboratory arrived with sophisticated equipment capable of detecting sounds across every frequency range imaginable. They set up monitoring stations, interviewed hearers, and recorded data from months. The results? Absolutely nothing. Their instruments detected no unusual sound waves, no seismic activity, no electromagnetic anomalies that could explain what these people were experiencing. The Taos hum remains unexplained to this day. Each person who hears it describes a slightly different frequency, ranging from 32 to 80 hertz, making it even more baffling. Some researchers suggest it could be related to inner ear function, while others point to the possibility that certain people's brains might be sensitive to magnetic fields in ways we don't yet understand. The mystery has spawned countless theories, from underground military communications to geological activity beneath the Earth's surface, but none fully explain why only specific individuals hear this maddening sound that drives some to abandon their homes entirely.
Number 6. Skyquakes. At 2:47 p.m. on March 8, 2017, residents across a 50-mile radius in Alabama reported hearing a massive boom that shook windows and rattled buildings. Seismologists confirmed no earthquake occurred. Military officials stated no aircraft were conducting exercises in the area. Meteorologists detected no unusual weather patterns. The source of the sound remains completely unknown. These unexplained booms, called skyquakes, have been reported worldwide for centuries under different names. In Bangladesh, they're called Barisal guns. In Italy, they're known as brontidi. Along the coasts of Belgium and the Netherlands, they're referred to as mist puffers. More than 64 separate skyquake incidents were documented in 2017 alone, affecting communities from North Carolina to India to Australia. What makes skyquakes particularly frustrating for scientists is their inconsistency. They occur randomly, without warning, and in locations that have no obvious geological or atmospheric commonalities. Some areas experience clusters of events over several weeks, then nothing for years. The booms can happen in any weather condition, at any time of day, and sometimes create powerful enough shockwaves to set off car alarms and knock objects off shelves. Proposed explanations include meteors disintegrating in the upper atmosphere, though most skyquakes occur without any visible celestial activity. Others suggest underwater earthquakes creating pressure waves that become audible when they reach shore, but this fails to explain skyquakes occurring hundreds of miles inland. Supersonic aircraft produce sonic booms, but skyquakes were documented long before supersonic flight existed. Some researchers have proposed that atmospheric conditions occasionally create natural acoustic channels that amplify distant sounds from industrial activity or ocean waves, but experimental attempts to verify this theory have been unsuccessful. The mystery of skyquakes represents a humbling reminder that even in our age of satellite monitoring and seismic networks, Earth can still produce phenomena that leave us completely baffled about their origin.
Number 5. Hessdalen lights. In a remote valley in Norway, mysterious lights have been appearing in the sky several times per year since at least the 1930s. The Hessdalen lights are different from typical light anomalies because they're reliable and frequent enough that scientists have been able to study them extensively, yet they still can't explain what causes them. These lights appear as floating orbs that change colors from white to yellow to red, sometimes lasting for just a few seconds and other times hovering for over an hour. What makes them truly bizarre is their behavior. They can appear suddenly, split into multiple lights, merge back together, and move in ways that defy conventional physics. Local witnesses report lights that accelerate instantly, stop abruptly, and travel at speeds that no known aircraft could match. Researchers have set up permanent monitoring stations in the valley, equipped with cameras, radar, and spectrum analyzers. They've detected that the lights emit radio frequencies and appear to have some kind of electromagnetic component, but that's where the understanding ends. Some scientists suggest the lights might be ionized gas created by the valley's unique geological composition. The area sits on a fault line with rich mineral deposits that could theoretically generate electrical charges under specific conditions. Others propose that piezoelectric effects from tectonic stress could create luminous plasma. But none of these theories fully account for the light's complex behaviors, their longevity, or why they appear so consistently in this specific location and almost nowhere else on Earth.
Number 4. Ball lightning. On a stormy night in 2012, a woman in China captured footage of a glowing sphere about the size of a grapefruit floating through her apartment. The orb lasted for about 5 seconds before vanishing without a trace. This rare video documentation of ball lightning represents only a handful of confirmed recordings of a phenomenon that has baffled scientists for centuries. Witnesses describe ball lightning as luminous spheres ranging from golf ball to beach ball size that can pass through walls, float against the wind, and even follow people. Some report a hissing sound accompanying the orbs, while others describe complete silence.
The spheres can last anywhere from 1 second to several minutes, and their disappearance is equally mysterious, sometimes fading away quietly and other times exploding with considerable force. The scientific community remained skeptical about ball lightning's existence for decades, dismissing reports as optical illusions or misidentified conventional lightning. But the accumulation of credible eyewitness accounts from pilots, scientists, and even meteorologists has forced a reconsideration. Multiple theories attempt to explain ball lightning. One suggests that when conventional lightning strikes the ground, it vaporizes silicon in the soil, creating a sphere of glowing gas held together by electromagnetic forces. Another theory proposes that microwave radiation becomes trapped inside a plasma bubble. A third suggests the spheres are actually quantum knots in the electromagnetic field itself. Despite extensive laboratory attempts to recreate ball lightning, scientists have only managed to produce short-lived luminous phenomena that barely resemble eyewitness descriptions of the real thing.
Number 3. Stonehenge altar stone origin. In southern England, massive stones arranged in a circle have stood for nearly 5,000 years. Stonehenge consists of two main stone types: the large sarsen stones weighing 25 tons each, and smaller blue stones weighing around 4 tons. For decades, scientists traced the sarsens to Marlborough Downs, just 15 miles away, and the blue stones to Wales, 150 miles distant. But one stone refused to fit the pattern. The altar stone, a massive 6.6-ton rectangular slab lying flat near the monument center, remained an enigma until researchers from Curtin University in Australia analyzed its chemical composition in 2024. Their conclusion shocked the archaeological community. The altar stone originated from the Orcadian Basin in northeastern Scotland, over 450 miles from Stonehenge. This distance exceeds by threefold the journey of any other stone at the site. The implications are staggering. Neolithic people transported a multi-ton boulder across the entire length of Britain around 2500 BC, centuries before the wheel was used in the region. The overland route would have required crossing mountains, rivers, and hostile territories. A coastal sea route, while potentially easier, would have demanded sophisticated navigation and shipbuilding skills far beyond what historians credited to that era. Researchers estimate that moving the altar stone required over 20 million hours of coordinated labor, suggesting not just engineering capability, but also political organization sophisticated enough to mobilize communities across vast distances. Some archaeologists now propose that Stonehenge served as a monument of political unification, with stones from different regions symbolizing alliances between distant tribes. The altar stone may have been a gift from Scottish communities, representing cooperation in an era when Britain faced immigration from continental Europe. This theory transforms Stonehenge from a simple astronomical observatory into a complex statement of collective identity, built stone by stone from materials representing the entirety of British territory.
Number 2. USS Cyclops disappearance. In March 1918, the USS Cyclops departed Rio de Janeiro, bound for Baltimore, carrying 10,800 tons of manganese ore and 309 crew members. The massive Navy supply ship measured 542 feet long and was one of the largest fuel ships in the American fleet. On March 4, the Cyclops made a scheduled stop in Barbados. Captain George Worley reported no problems with the ship or crew. The weather forecast looked favorable for the journey through the Caribbean and up the Atlantic coast. That was the last anyone heard from the USS Cyclops. The ship never arrived in Baltimore, never sent a distress signal, and left no trace of wreckage despite extensive searches. All 309 people aboard vanished without explanation, making it the single largest loss of life in U.S. Navy history, not directly involving combat. What makes this disappearance particularly mysterious is the complete absence of evidence. When ships sink, they typically leave debris fields, life rafts, oil slicks, floating cargo, bodies. The Cyclops was carrying thousands of tons of manganese ore, heavy material that would have scattered across the ocean floor if the ship broke apart. Naval investigators found nothing. The ship simply ceased to exist between Barbados and the American coast, somewhere in what would later be called the Bermuda Triangle. Theories attempting to explain the disappearance range from structural failure due to overloading, to German submarine attack, to sudden catastrophic storms. but none adequately explain the total absence of wreckage or distress signals. Modern ships carry emergency beacons that activate automatically when submerged, but the Cyclops had only radio equipment that required human operation. If the ship sank quickly enough, the crew might not have had time to send messages. Yet even rapid sinking should leave surface debris, and the Cyclops carried enough flotation material that something should have survived to float. The mystery deepened when two of the Cyclops' sister ships, the USS Proteus and USS Nereus, also vanished in the same region during World War II, both without trace or explanation.
Number 1. Racetrack Playa Sailing Stones. At Death Valley National Park in California, rocks weighing up to 700 pounds glide across a flat desert surface, leaving trails stretching up to 1,500 feet long. These sailing stones puzzled geologists for over a century because nobody ever witnessed them move. The tracks were undeniable evidence of movement, sometimes showing sharp turns and parallel paths where multiple rocks moved in perfect synchronization. What made this phenomenon even stranger was that some rocks moved while others sitting right next to them remained stationary. Scientists proposed theories involving hurricane-force winds, magnetic fields, and even extraterrestrial intervention. The breakthrough came in 2014 when researchers from UC San Diego finally captured the movement on camera. The answer turned out to be a rare combination of specific conditions. After rainfall, a thin layer of water forms on the playa surface. When temperatures drop at night, this water freezes into a sheet of ice. As the sun rises and temperatures increase, the ice begins to melt and break into large floating panels. Gentle winds then push these ice sheets across the wet, slippery mud, and the sheets push the rocks along with them. The movement happens slowly, lasting about 16 minutes at speeds of just 2 to 5 meters per minute. The conditions required for this phenomenon are so specific that rocks might only move once every few years, which explains why it took so long to observe and why the mystery persisted for over 100 years.
Still curious? Then don't stop now. The next mystery is already waiting for you. Just click the video on screen. I saved it just for you. See you there, curious one.